a mission to make and sew all the clothes I'm going to bring into my wardrobe in 2024. For the most part. Let me explain. Hey, I'm Ray. One thing about me is I love a good project. This channel is all about doing, learning, and sharing as I focus on my two main projects. And more than likely sneak a few mini projects along the way. Come along to create and intentionally make the time, space, and energy to add creativity into everyday life. So I want to make things intentionally. So before I start making anything, I want to take a step back and think about my project list. Just like if I was to be shopping for clothes, I don't want to think of it as just getting more clothes for the sake of getting clothes. I want to think of it as curating a personal wardrobe with items that I know both look good with each other and me, and also items that I know I'm actually going to want to wear. So when I say for the most part, that's because I am well aware that there are some things that I don't have in my skill set yet. Things like hosiery and like outerwear jackets and stuff like that. I don't really know how to make that yet, but I do want to learn and figure out how to make as much as I can. And because I learn by doing, and I have a can-do attitude and probably a somewhat delusional belief that if I Because I'm a visual person and I like to see everything kind of laid out in front of me, I'm going to make a whiteboard on Canva. That way, everything I want to consider can be all in one place, easy for me to see. Okay, here we have the whiteboard. Now I've already filled out a lot of it just for time's sake, but if we zoom in here, we're gonna start with our fabric. So when buying fabric and materials, there's a couple of things I want to consider. Firstly, I know that a big priority for these projects are the clothes being comfortable and breathable. That is because if they're not comfortable, I'm not going to wear them. And in order to accomplish that, I want to focus mostly on natural and or breathable fabrics. So things like cotton, linen, wool for the winter, but also things like rayon and modal, just because it has more breathability to it. I know that mostly around my torso, bodice, upper body area, this is more important. I can kind of get away with more synthetics on the lower half of my body and still be more comfortable, but I would like to keep to natural as much as possible and as much as the budget allows. The other thing to consider is the drape, or like the stiffness or floofy flowiness of the fabric. I would like, for most of like my clothes, outerwear is kind of an exception, but for most of my clothes to have a really soft flowy drape. That's partially because I would like my clothes to kind of contour to the curves of my body, and I'll get more into that when I talk about the silhouette. But with textures, smooth or soft textures like just your average woven cotton, linen, but also things like satin or challis is a good one, just to kind of have like that smooth overall effect. And then adding pops of more textured fabrics, like things that are crocheted or knitted by hand, and things like leather, kind of like more sparing, not as many base pieces that are going to have a lot of that rougher texture. And then lastly, of course, I do want to consider anything that I would make the fabric for, as in things that I would crochet or knit myself. Again, that's going to have more texture to it, but I do want to include some of that into my wardrobe. The colors that I really like are these deep, rich jewel tones. I kind of laid out some of the colors that I would like to incorporate into my wardrobe, and then this little tile here is because I do love patterns a lot. And so I can't just consider that I want solid colors. I would like some pattern in there as well. So that little tile just reminded me of that. And then of course we have to consider the silhouette of things. I like thinking about this before my project list because it kind of reins me in a little bit and guides me about what type of garments I want to actually make. So for example, if I liked things that were not as contoured to my body, like maybe I'd want a lot of like the muumuu style dresses, but because I know that's not something that is a silhouette that I like on myself, even though I like the style of those things, I'm not going to add those to my project list. So what is the silhouette that I like? I, of course, like I said, like things to contour to my curves. So in order to accomplish that, I figured out that if anything is from a really structured fabric or it has that structured look, like a stiffer cottons, I would like them to be more form-fitting. So I know on the bodice, on my upper body, I do like things to sit a lot closer to my body in general. On the lower half of my body though, like I can dip into the flowier side of things. I really like long flowing skirts, so I want to add that. If the skirt is flowy though, I want it to be fitted around my hips and then flare out a little bit lower on my body. I think that silhouette looks best. And some things to consider for just general shape is the waist emphasis, whether it be with a change of color or a detail or a belt or something like that. Just some notes about how I want the pants to fit, some notes about the necklines I want to consider, and again, with the waist emphasis, keeping things cropped and high-waisted so they meet at my natural waist. Underneath here, I have some examples of the silhouettes that I like. Again, that kind of like fitted through the hips and flared out. This is my version of a pencil skirt, so it still contours around the hips. It's not just the straight up and down that some pencil skirts can be. An example of something that the shape of the pattern for this, I can tell, is a lot wider even around the hips, but because the fabric is so soft and flowy, it actually still contours to the hips. Some more examples of flowy, again, wrapped around. The skirts are gonna be pretty similar. With the pants, there's kind of two versions that I like. I like the bell-bottom-esque, the flared pants that are tight through the thigh and then flare out. And then I also like this kind of like mod mid-century look where they are like cigarette or like tailored trousers that are cut off at the ankle. And then some necklines to consider. This is the Queen Anne style that I really like. It's kind of like a cross between the sweetheart and the high neckline, and then a V-neck that can be accomplished with button downs really easily, but also just V-neck styles. Some of these colors on here I really like as well, just to kind of give me a visual plan moving forward. Now, when it comes to my personal style, I have to say I kind of love and have adopted the philosophy that there is a difference between style and fashion. My understanding is that style is like your personal expression, whereas fashion is an artistic expression by someone else made for the masses. So to be more specific, your personal style is something that might incorporate other fashion elements, trends that are happening right now, different aesthetics that you like, but it's done in such a way that it is kind of showing off a little bit of you and is more unique, individualized, and personalized. Fashion, on the other hand, kind of comes more from an external place. It's usually influenced by the culture and of course by designers, but it kind of leans more into trends and things that are going on externally. And this is actually really helpful in your personal style because you can try out and adopt different elements of fashion trends, but you want to make sure that you are still aligning with your own personal style. And this is the way that I have figured out how to do it. So looking back on my whiteboard here under personal style, you'll see that I've listed a few, I think 5 different aesthetics that I really like. And in addition to the aesthetics, I also have a column here about the feeling that those aesthetics evoke. And the reason why is because you could take each of these different aesthetics that I like and someone else could wear them or represent them in a way that does not align with my style. So not only do I want to, acknowledge some of the aesthetic and fashionable influences that I like, I want to be specific and define what it is I like about each of those so I can bring those elements into my style. Okay, so what I've done is I filled out this little mood board thing here. I took the feelings that I get from these aesthetics here and found images that kind of evoked those feelings for me to put into this mood board. And I'm glad I did it this way because at first what I was going to do was I was just going to get a bunch of different outfits, fashion inspiration, clothing that I felt kind of like fit those vibes. But by doing the photos instead, I really got down to the essence of the style over the fashion. and what I like, the feelings that I like to feel and clothes that I like. And in doing it this way, I actually realized that what I'm wearing today kind of falls a lot in line with the mood board aesthetic style that I'm going for, which is cool, which means I'm on the right track. I'll show you what I mean. So it's a very basic, simple thing that I'm wearing today, right? But the colors, this cardigan, the shape of what I'm wearing, all of it kind of together, even like my necklace and the way that I'm doing my hair today, falls in line with this here mood board, which is really cool. I feel like I'm on the right track. All right, now that I have essences of my style figured out, I want to move on to my lifestyle. Now, this is actually something that I picked up from a different creator. I'll put the video that I got this concept from somewhere over here. But the idea basically is when you are considering what to add to your wardrobe, you really want to look at your lifestyle, not just your personal style, because you want the clothes that you are going to wear to fit into your life. Basically, if you do a lot of casual things, or you do a lot of active things, or you are in an office a lot and you need a lot of semi-formal wear, you want to know that before you build your wardrobe, so you actually have the clothing for the activities that you need to do. The way that I'm doing this is I'm breaking it down into, I guess, subcategories, just to help me kind of like think of what I actually do. Starting with like weekly and then monthly, things that might come up like once a month, things that might come up once a year, just so I make sure I kind of cover most of my bases. So weekly activities is really more like daily activities, but thinking, what do I do in a week? So what I'm gonna do is I'm basically just going to make a list of the clothing items that I would need when doing these things. So first thing is exercise. So I'm going to add, and let's do leggings. I'm gonna add sports bra, and I'll put t-shirts. For work, my job is pretty casual. The only thing to consider is I do a lot of standing and sitting, which I've found through experience means that dresses, as cute as they may be, sometimes it's annoying to have to keep doing this to adjust it. So I think I'm going to do just tops in general, skirts, pants, all pretty casual. And let's do some jackets and sweaters for when it's chilly outside. Ooh. And what else should we add here? I think that's pretty good for work. Under sleep is where I'm gonna add general undergarments as well, just because it's kind of like personal wear, if you will. So for sleeping, I might want a nightgown. I'll add PJ bottoms and PJ tops. For weekend errands, these pretty much will cover it as well. And then cleaning. So I want a couple of comfy kind of throwaway outfits where if like it gets bleached, I'm not going to be super upset about it. So I think I want to add stainable t-shirt, and I'll put leggings. So that's my just like weekly, everyday, what I'm kind of doing throughout the week. Then considering monthly activities. So I don't really do too much outside of my weekly routine. Every once in a while, I do like to go out, either like a night out or during the day for tea and coffee. So for these, it's basically the same as my everyday kind of casual looks, but I want to have them be a little bit more dressed up, a little elevated, as some might say. So for my monthly activities, it's pretty much going to be the same clothing that I'm wearing for my casual everyday stuff. I just want to add a little bit to make it just a step up, a little bit nicer, a little elevated. So instead of wearing sneakers, maybe I'll wear more flats or a low heel. I think the biggest part here, honestly, is the shoes. I think just by changing my shoes, I would feel comfortable going out. What I will add is a going out dress. I need a couple flirty kind of clothing to add into here. So I'm going to add also a short skirt. Not like super mini. I can't really pull that off, especially with my like gesticulations. I don't want to be showing all my glory. So I'm going to add short skirt, but meaning like something like mid-thigh, something above the knee. I'm also going to add tights. I think that's pretty much it. If I think of something else, I can always go back and edit any part of this. So for my quarterly activities, basically this is things that I might do 3 to 4 times a year. I can only think of travel being in addition to all the other stuff that I do. So if I was to go somewhere, depending on the season of course, I'm thinking of like summer is resort wear, something that is cute but easy to throw on. So I'm thinking of dresses, consider like comfort of adjusting all the time. I'm thinking matching sets, heyo, either like a jumpsuit or a pair of pants and top that are intentionally matching, same pattern, same fabric, that type of thing. If I was going somewhere during the winter months, I think I might want some hats and maybe a coat. All right, I think that's good. And again, this is basically building off of the sections before. Now, lastly, we have things that come around once a year. This is going to be things like birthdays, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. So for birthday, you know, you're thinking of your birthday fit. I want it to be an option of something one step above going out. I'm gonna put fancy dress. One thing I do want to add for the holiday season specifically is a pinafore. Basically, if I have a sweater or a long sleeve that I want to kind of like step up a little bit, throwing a pinafore just kind of screams holidays that like last quarter of the month. Nice and cozy, a little bit formal, but not super fancy. Lastly, I'm gonna put a note in here for just plaid, for especially like around Christmas. It's not an item of clothing, but I'm putting it here because I do want to have more plaid during that season. So what I'm gonna do now is basically take a moment to think about how much of each of these items I want to have in my wardrobe, because in the next step, I'm actually going to make my project list out of all of this. I will make a note of what I already have in my wardrobe, and whatever left over is going to be on my project list. But when I add anything to the what I want section, I'm going to be specific. So if I want pants, I'm not just going to put pants, I'm going to put flared corduroy pants. You know, something more specific that's actually a project name, not just, hey, we should make some pants. I will exclude the things that I don't know how to make, like a coat or shoes, those sorts of things, but everything else is basically going to go on my projects list. And this here is my to-do list, my project list, all on the right side here. One thing that I noticed as I was doing this is that there was definitely some adjustment that I had to do with this list here. So I'm glad that I did it this way. It really helped me be more specific. Also, I noticed that there were some things that I forgot to add. I also made a note here because I didn't add hats or a fancy coat. And by fancy coat, I really mean like a wool coat, to my list because I'm not sure if that's something that I'd want to make or buy. I'm not sure exactly about the style of it, so that's kind of a TBD. I did also add TBD to top here. So here's my project list. It's a very involved process, but I wanted to do it intentionally this way because this is something that I can go back to constantly and refer to for my wardrobe as a whole. Also the projects that I want to do to add to my wardrobe. This is something that can be adjusted, and I have everything laid out for my whole making of a wardrobe project right here in one place. I think we're done. Let me know if this helped you. If this is a system that would help you conceptualize your whole wardrobe and project list. If you liked it, go ahead and click the like button, and if you want to see more, hit the subscribe. This was really fun, and it's gotten me really excited for all the projects that I'm going to do. I can't wait to share that with you guys. Until next time, peace!